Hi everyone, hope you are well and safe. Welcome to a new securities trading training session. Hopefully you are benefiting from all these trainings that I'm providing. We currently have completed 11 different training sessions and this is the number 12. Now, I encourage you to please start from session number 1 and go through all the different trainings that I'm providing, because it does provide you with a general and specific information that would allow you to become a better trader and understand the various terminology with respect to technical analysis and ways of implementing different strategies in order to execute your trade better. In these sessions, I actually covered things that start with even psychology of trading, followed by things like supports, resistances, Fibonacci retracements, stochastic RSI, MACDs, and so forth. So please take the time in order to go through these extensive sessions that will help you to better maneuver your ways through day trading, swing trading, or even long-term trading. So for today, I'm going to be explaining what I promised, which is how to identify stocks that have a short squeeze potential. Okay. What that means, for those who don't know what is a short squeeze actually happens when a stock has been shorted for an extensive period of time, that it basically has reached to a point that it does not make sense to short the stock any longer, and we would expect some sort of a surge in price once the shorts actually cover their positions, and that would ultimately result in a price surge, which is what we call a short squeeze, or you might have heard of things like gamma squeeze, which is an even more forceful short squeeze that we have seen, for example, with stocks like AMC and GME. Now, there are certain criteria that we need to look at and identify and understand in order to validate whether a certain stock has that potential or not. Now, there are two different ways of going about this, and I'll be telling you or explaining to you in more details these two different ways. The first way is a free way, that you can basically go to certain websites and find these short squeeze potential stocks, and then do your own due diligence in order to see whether they are actually have that potential or not. And there's another way, which is a subscription-based way, where it basically lays out all the information for you, like the short interest, the days to cover, the borrow fees, and they even assign a potential percentage of a short squeeze actually happening. Of course, all this information will be available to you in real time, whereas the free information is normally lagging by 2 weeks, because the exchanges don't report this information as often as is available through the subscription based. So I'll explain to you all these terminologies that I'm referring to, like short interest, borrow fees, days to cover, shortly. So let's start with the free ways. By the way, this is BBIG chart, and it's looking great. It's still following the trend line right here, upward trend line. So good news right there. So first website that I want you to know is this one right here, which is the highshortinterest.com website. Again, that's highshortinterest.com website. And on this website, it actually provides you with a list of stocks that have a high short interest percentage. So it provides you with the stocks like BGV, WKHS, BLNK, FUV, SDC, and of course, if you've been doing your due diligence, you'll know that these are stocks that have been shorted for quite a number of time. Now, it does provide you the company, the exchange that it's trading at, the short interest. So what is the short interest? Short interest is basically the number of shares that have been shorted and not yet covered. Covered means the short has not bought back the shares in order to close their position, divided by the total number of outstanding shares by the company. Once again, that's the total number of shares that have been shorted but not covered or closed, divided by the total number of outstanding shares. Okay, so it also provides you with the float. Float, as I have explained in the past, is basically the number of shares that are available for trading. And then the outstanding shares is the total number of shares that are available for the company, both restricted and unrestricted. So restricted means that the number of shares, these shares have been set aside for not to be traded or not to be used for now. They might be used later on. And then the unrestricted are the number of shares that are available for trading. So the float is a subset of the outstanding shares, and potentially some shares that are available for the company that they could be probably selling for operations and what have you. Note that the restricted shares could also be a number of shares that have been set aside for any reason that the company may have, or for potential future operations and what have you. So once again, the float is a subset of the outstanding shares, and the outstanding shares is the subset of, if you recall, the authorized shares. The authorized shares is the number of shares that when the company registers, says that I'm authorized, I'm allowed to issue, let's say 50 million shares. So float is a subset of the outstanding shares, and the outstanding shares are a subset of the authorized shares. And it also provides you with the industry that the company is associated with. So this is a first website that you actually need to know, because if you don't know what stocks are there or what stocks are out there that have high potential for a short squeeze, then you can come to this website and have a list right here. But that doesn't mean that these stocks are going to actually short squeeze, because short interest percentage is only one metric that you need to be aware of. The other metric that we will get to eventually is the borrow fee, which to me is of huge importance along with the short interest. When these two combined together are high, then that's when it's definitely on my radar and definitely something of interest to myself, because once the volume kicks in and the buy volume and the short start to recover, then the stock is going to go massively higher. So now let's say that you have heard from a friend that there's a stock that has a short squeeze potential, and you want to validate whether this friend of yours is actually BSing you or telling you the truth. So you go to another website, which is, for example, Yahoo. So finance.yahoo.com. Finance.yahoo.com. And let's say he told you BBIG has a strong potential. So you search for BBIG. And then you need to go to statistics. And you need to go to this section right here, share statistics. This is where you are most interested in. So it provides you with the shares outstanding, 69.52 million, the float, 58.65 million. Notice subset of the outstanding shares. And then what is of interest is the short percentage of float right here. Short percentage of float, which is, once again, the number of shares that have been shorted but not yet covered or bought back divided by the total number of outstanding shares. And it tells you that it's 21.06%. So literally almost a quarter of the float is being shorted, which is high. Okay, and I'll show you something that is higher shortly. But basically, this kind of information is important, okay, for you. Now, let's say that you're interested in another company that you heard that has a short squeeze potential, support.com. So SPRT. Once again, you go to statistics, you go to share statistics, and you'll notice that outstanding shares are 24.24. The float is only 9.31 million, and the short percentage of float is 67.01%. So 2/3 of the float is actually being shorted. That's absolutely ridiculous. Okay. Now, one thing that I need to highlight is this information is available as of August 13, 2021. If you recall, at the beginning of the session, I said this information that is available freely to you is outdated. So why is this 2 to 3 weeks out? It's because the exchanges like NASDAQ, for example, only report it every 2 weeks. So it takes time until they get it uploaded right here on Yahoo or other free websites. But that's why this information could have potentially changed. And we will see shortly that it has changed. Or it could have been increased or decreased. And however, you have to depend on this free information as your best bet. The subscription-based information basically provides you this data on a daily basis, so it's definitely more accurate than this free information. Now, the next piece of information that I have said that is very important to me is the borrow fees or the short fees. Now, I'll show you two different websites that could actually provide you with this information. Here's the first one right here. So the first one right here is called iBorrowDesk. That's the letter I, borrowdesk.com, just like here, okay? And this basically on the homepage shows you the stocks that are available, even OTC, as you can see right here, that have a high percentage of borrow fees. So borrow fee is basically the fees that the shorts have to pay in order to actually before they can actually start making money. So let's look at an example right here. Let's go to BBIG. So Vinco Ventures right there. Short fee is 147.9%. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, and there are 90,000 shares that are available for shorting that are left. Now, what does 147.9% mean? 147.9% means that the price needs to decrease by 147.9% before the shorts can start making money, which is impossible. So, for example, if this number was 50%, so the price of the share needs to drop by 50% before the shorts could start making money. So if the stock is $10, it needs to drop to $5 for the shorts to break even. And then when it drops to $4, that's when they start making money. That's when they get their first 20%. In this case, it's 147.9%. So it just that does not make sense at all for the shorts to get into this or to open a new position. That's what's important. Open a new position. And notice this has been increasing. On the 6th of September, it was 79.7. Then started moving up to 111, dropped to 106, 109, 111, 126, 146, and now it's at 147.9%. So that to me gives me a good indication that this has a short squeeze potential, as long as the volume comes in to support it as well. Now, note that this is a free website, so sometimes the information is not always available up to date. So for example, let's go to support.com and let's look at this. The last piece of information was updated on the 8th of September. So there's 2 days of missing information, and the fee was at 92%. Again, ridiculous. It was at 104 at some point. So, and it is updated literally every 15 minutes normally when it's up to date. Now, another website that you can go to is this one right here, is shortablestocks.com. Once again, that's shortablestocks.com. And basically you enter the ticker, BBIG, for instance, right here, submit, and there you go. This provides you with information. It's 146.02%. Now you're gonna have some slight variation between these three websites because everyone calculates it based on their information, and it's telling you 100,000 shares are available, and this is as of 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. Again, ridiculous fees. Let's look at SPRT and see whether they have more updated information. As of 8th of September, again, not updated, but it was 92.42% and only 300 available. So as you can see, this definitely piques my interest. Now let's go to the previous website right there that I told you that has those stocks with high short percentage. Let's look at BGFV, for instance. Okay, it has a high short interest percentage. Now I want to validate whether it actually has a high borrow fee to make it interesting for me. So let's go here. Sorry, BGFV. I forgot the name already. BGFV. BGFV. There you go. Short fee is at 3.6%, so I would do a pass because this is not high enough. I could day trade it. I'm not saying that I can't, but what we're talking about today is short squeeze potential. Okay, and even the short squeeze potential, you have to time your entry correctly. Never FOMO. I've done it just yesterday, and I actually paid the price. Now, we know that on the list there was also SDC on that free website, and SDC again 0.7%, the short fee right here that is showing. So those are kind that I normally could potentially overlook unless I see a potential for a breakthrough in the chart and what have you. Now the other way, so this is basically the free information that are available for you. Now the other way that is available also is through Fintel. That's fintel.io. Okay, this is a subscription based. Well, they actually have free information, but if you want to get the latest detail, you need to subscribe to their services. And what you need to do, for example, if we want to look at BBIG, okay, you click on it right here, and then you go down to short interest, click on short interest, and it gives you 96.86% is the score that they have allocated to them for a potential for short squeeze. Okay, now if you go down, it provides you with all the information about the FINRA short volume, the total volume, the short volume ratio, and what have you. Okay, just for information, the FINRA short volume divided by the FINRA total volume gives you the short volume ratio, and so forth. Here is the short interest. Okay, 26.27% right there on September 10th. 9th, it was 19.48%, and what have you. Okay. Now, days to cover is another metric normally that they look at, and the days to cover is basically the number of days that the shorts have before that they have to cover their position, and this is calculated, just for information, by dividing the total number of shares being shorted divided by the average daily trading volume. Okay, so it's an interesting metric. Some people look at it, the higher it gets, the more the short squeeze potential. But I honestly, from my perspective, I look mostly up on the short interest and the borrow fees in order to look at things. Now, another way, now what is more interesting is this. On Fintel, right away you click on screens and then click on short squeeze US market, and boom, gives you all the information. There you go. So this has been updated right now, actually, just a couple of minutes ago, and now ATIF is the first stock that has the highest short squeeze potential. They're not showing the short interest percent flow, but if you're interested in finding what it is, you can go to Yahoo, ATIF, just like we've learned, and then statistics, and short percentage of float is 3.35%. But that's again three weeks ago. Now let's go back to Fintel. Now Fintel is telling us ATIF, SPRT, and then ATAR, BBIG, and so forth. Now it provides you, as I mentioned earlier, with all the information right there. So it gives you the market cap, the short percentage, short interest percentage of float, days to cover, the average volume for 1 month, the price momentum for in terms of change in percentage, and then the borrow fee rate and the short squeeze score. So for SPRT, we have a short interest 73.47%. Notice earlier we found that it was only 69% because that was outdated by 2 weeks. This is the actually day to day as of right now, 73.47%. Borrow fee is at 94.79%, and the short squeeze score is 98%. Now BBIG, another one that we were looking at, short interest, again different from what we found earlier, 29.93%, and the borrow fee is 146.02, which is close enough. Okay, and then the short squeeze score is 96.86. Again, this something you need to understand. You don't come to this list and say, okay, these are going to short squeeze, that's it, I'm jumping right straight into them. No, that's not how it works. You actually know that these have a high short interest percentage, and you know that they have a high borrow fee. Some of them do. Those are more interesting to me than these right here, for instance, because they have a lower short fee. But again, these low ones, if they get the volume and if they get the interest and the catalyst, could skyrocket. And we've seen BTCM, for example, skyrocket. But yeah, BTCM has 155% borrow fee, so that it's ridiculous. But any, for example, has 76, still high, and that's why it's moving. So yeah, I'd be very interested in those with high borrow fee along with a high short percentage fee, which is why I'm actually very big right now on SPRT. Although I wish I timed my entry better, but that's fine. So that's pretty much it for how to identify short squeezes. Again, to summarize, I've given you a couple of tools. I've given you websites that are free where you can find list of stocks that have a high short interest percentage. Okay, and that's from highshortinterest.com. And then you need to take these stocks and validate it iborrowdesk.com whether they have a high borrow fee or not. Or you can come to Fintel and just go to short squeeze list and find all this information. And then you take this information, go to the chart and see whether when do you want to enter into this stock, the proper entry, and also validate whether they have any upcoming catalysts or news and whether there's a hype around it or not, which will drive this short squeeze. So that's pretty much it for this training session. Hopefully you've found it valuable and you've learned something new into this session. And if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comment section or in our YouTube community. I wish you all the best and good luck as always in trading. Take care.